There's the queen. We'll put the queen down. There's the queen. We'll set the queen down and show you one more time. We've got a joker and a joker. And wait, that's a joker. 1 second. There's a joker, there's a joker, and there's a joker. Wait a minute. This is impossible. How could I have 1, 2, and 3 jokers? So if I have 1, 2, and 3 jokers, then where could the queen possibly be? Well, let's take a look and see. We have 1, we have 2, we have 3 queens. And that is the way I perform 3-card Monty. Hello again, everybody.
Oops.
It's been a while.
All right, folks. So a little bit of an intro there on 3-card Monty, and that was by Card Tricks Teacher on YouTube, in case you want to check out some of his stuff. And I'll put a link to it at the end of the video in the description here on YouTube. But there's a reason why I'm talking about 3-card Monty. There's a reason why the title of this is that early voting is bad, that this is a dangerous thing, that this is going to harm you, that this is not something that's being done for the public or for the public's benefit. It is the least beneficial thing for the public. And I'm going to explain that in just a moment. Let's understand, what is early voting? Early voting is an idea to improve voter turnout. There is voter apathy across the nation. That is a fact. No one disputes that. In fact, you can look through and you can see from many different organizations that voter turnout has been down, apathy has been up. People are not involved in the election process like they used to be. That's just a fact. And there have been a lot of people talking about it, especially when you're talking about New York State. New York State is atrocious. We're in the top 10 of the least active voters in the United States. So that's a problem. And that's been proven in 2010, 2012, 2014, in the midterm elections, everything except pretty much 2018. In fact, it was Andrea Stewart Cousins, who is in the New York State Senate, who pointed out the fact that New York consistently ranks low for voter turnout. We are one of the worst states, and I believe in 2018 where we had exceptional turnout, we had ranked 42 out of 50 states. That's about as bad as it gets. It's a horrible turnout. So what is early voting? Early voting is basically a scam to try and get people to come out and vote that normally would not vote. That's the idea. That was what was passed by the single party leadership of New York State. They said, hey, come on, we're going to make it easy. We're going to make this like American Idol. We're going to make this as simple as possible for people to come out and vote. Because if we make it easy and we give people lots of time, they're going to do more. More people will show up. More people are going to vote. And we've seen that, they passed that in January, and now here it is just before the day before early voting starts on October 26th. And states have been scrambling to try and live up to this voter reform. The Democrats promise us will get more people involved and will make this more and more fair. And I'm here to tell you that they're lying to you. They are directly lying to you. It is not going to make anything better. It's probably going to make it worse. And it's going to be the least beneficial thing to voters throughout the United States, and in particular in New York as well. And in Broome County, in case you were wondering, Broome County, part of New York State, in the Southern Tier region, here, and we're at No Soundbites Allowed. We are headquartered in the Southern Tier of New York. I should have started with that. But there are voting locations, and on Saturday, October 26th, you can vote from 12 until 5 p.m. That's 12 noon. On Sunday, again, 12 noon to 5 p.m. On Monday, 10 a.m. until 6 p.m., and so on, up until November 3rd. And the idea is, if we make it really, really easy for you, you can go out and vote. And that people will go out and vote because it's really, really easy. Hello, welcome to American Idol. But that is not the case. That is not what we're going to be seeing. Because we see politicians who are out there, and they're politicians, and I'm going to be talking about a couple of people. In particular, I'm talking about, one of the more recent people we've been talking about, Dan Livingston. And he's out there and he's promoting early voting. He was on WNBF yesterday talking about mentioning to voters that they need to come out and vote early, starting to vote on Saturday to put in their vote. Now, here's something that's very important, doesn't get mentioned a lot about early voting. Once you vote, once you do the early voting, you cannot vote again. Now, whether or not that leads into corruption, it might. We may see voter fraud with people voting more than once, or people who can't vote in a certain region voting in those regions because it's advanced voting. And it's going to probably cause its own little set of problems. But when we see politicians who are out there actively telling people, go out and vote early, I advise you, ask why. Why is it someone like Dan Livingston is telling you, go out and vote early? Why? What's the benefit? Who gets the benefit? Now, the main idea is, well, it'll be easier for you because you don't have to wait for one day to vote. Except we've been doing that for, years and years. So the problem isn't so much that it's making it easier. Yeah, we're making it more convenient. We're also denying the public the opportunity to have information. We're denying the public the opportunity to be involved, to give them urgency, to be able to understand what's really going on in this election, and rather to vote on either emotions or some political ad you saw on TV. And in fact, it's even worse than you might be thinking. Because when you say, well, a lot of states have early voting, and early voting has worked. It's been working well. Except, no, it really hasn't. According to 538.com, a somewhat left-leaning organization on the internet, but credible all the same, in their article on January 30th of 2019, they mentioned that early voting, and I'm looking for my glasses because I can't see, and of course I lost my glasses. I'll make the best of it. Early voting laws probably don't boost turnout, in case you're just listening to the audio. That's the title of the article by Nathaniel Rakich. And in this article, he goes into and looking over, well, what's really happened with voter turnout? And the answer is, it has no real effect. More new people don't come out and vote. The same people vote that were always voting. Just they vote at different times. And they get locked out of important information when they do early vote. So what do you see? You see that while more people are taking the convenience of voting early, it's not changing the numbers of people who are voting. Now, you don't have to believe me. You can look at the numbers from the state of Massachusetts. You can look at the studies that were done on early voting, and that it's actually shown that less people actually vote. And you can check out the GAO report, which from 2014, 2016, June report. And what they mentioned is the GAO, Government Accountability Office. They go and they state that most studies of early election in-person voting reported no evidence of an effect on turnout or found decreases in turnout, while the remaining studies reported mixed evidence. So it's not showing you that there is a benefit here. More people aren't coming out to vote. People aren't more engaged in voting. What you're seeing instead is that people are voting earlier with less information. That's not a good thing. And I can give you a great example of why I say that. And that's because of, remember, just a day ago, I did a review, a discussion about Dan Livingston and the fact that he had admitted guilt of committing ethics violations at the least. And I do see Jesse John has joined us. Hey, Jesse, thank you for getting involved. So it was just a couple days ago that we had, matter of fact, it was Monday, the 21st of October, that Councilman Dan Livingston admitted his own guilt and voted to investigate himself for ethics violations and possible abuse of power, misuse of public funds, something that he's not being transparent about, something that he's not telling his own voters about. This is his page. And he's not telling voters. He's telling them to come out and vote early. He's telling them about how he's gotten endorsements from far left organizations. He is a progressive after all. But what he isn't telling them is that, hey, why was he on WMBF with Bob Joseph? Why was he having an interview yesterday on air? Why did he have to? Because he's under investigation. As we very clearly pointed out, he's under investigation. He's committed, or he has admitted that he, in fact, violated an ethics, that he may have misused public funds, that he abused his power, and that an outside counsel has to investigate him, and he may be removed. But his goal, and this is the problem with early voting, his goal is to make sure that the Democratic Party still maintains power, that they get to have his seat. Because if he wins in his reelection bid and then is found to be guilty, he's going to get removed, but another Democrat takes his place. Another progressive gets to sit in his seat. That's what it's really about. That's what early voting can do. And that's the problem. Because on October 26th, you're not going to get the results of the investigation until closer to the election. And some voters will say, as if it is found, as Dan Livingston himself has admitted, that he has violated ethics, that he has misused public funds, that he has abused his power, that he is not being transparent. If he is removed from office for all of those things, people would not vote for him. Rightly so, because that's a problem. That's not someone you want to be in elected office, I believe. Maybe progressives have a different point of view about that. But it is definitely, and I'm going to answer your question in a second, John. John Restucia has joined us as well. This is the problem. When he is going out there, not telling his voters, actively not telling his voters why he's being shown in interviews, why he's having to appear to explain himself, and he's telling them instead, go out and vote early. Don't listen to the news. Don't look for transparency. Don't be involved or an informed voter. Instead, just vote party line. Just vote because of my picture, because of my commercials or ads. Go out and vote early before you have all the information, because then you're locked in. And he gets to have power and you get to have none. That's not good for constituents. So let me answer your question, John. John asked the question, do you think Dan Livingston should resign? And the answer is, yes, I do. I've been thinking that for a long time. He has had a pattern of violating laws, of admitting that he has violated laws, going back to 2017, not including an arrest in California, but which is public. These are public facts. There is no question on this. You can ask Dan himself, and he will admit that he has done these things. He has been on Spectrum News and admitted that he broke election law. He absolutely was censured in November of 2018 for violating, abusing his power. In January, he was nearly removed from office for spying on people without their knowledge and was rebuked by legal counsel. These are facts. He is a partisan hack, in my personal opinion, but professionally, let's stick with this, he is definitely a partisan advocate for progressivism and for people like the progressive leaders of tomorrow. So do I think he's a problem? Do I believe someone like that should resign? Yes, I think Dan Livingston should resign as a councilman, and I don't believe that he should automatically have the power to give his seat to another Democrat without allowing the public to vote on that, because he's misleading the public. This is a three-card Monte game. This is someone playing a shell game with the public. Early voting is dangerous. If you want to early vote, I understand it. Maybe you're going to be out of the state. Maybe you're sick. Maybe you have other things to do. I understand that. But you need to be informed. Don't let this be the way that some politicians abuse their power and get away with committing crimes. Don't let that happen. Don't just go out and vote because you want to vote party line. Go out there and make sure that you know what you're voting for. And when someone is under an investigation before an election, do yourself a favor. At least find out why are they being investigated. Find out whether or not that is a serious issue to you. And if it could change your vote, hold off on voting early. Make sure you're making the right vote, because they keep not mentioning this. If you vote early, you don't vote again. Your vote doesn't change. If you change your mind, if it is proven, as in the case with Dan Livingston, that you have that he has committed crimes and that he may be removed from office because of those crimes, as well as any other penalties that may come under law, you don't get to change your vote. You still have made that vote. You're electing that criminal after the fact. It doesn't matter that he could be found guilty. You still voted for him, so he's still going to get that vote. Even if you would never vote for someone who's committed that kind of crime, who abused their power, who misused public funds, you don't get to take that back. This is the danger of early voting, amongst many other things. And the promise, the fantasy that has been put out there by Governor Cuomo and the single-party government of New York State that have said, oh, early voting it'll make it better for people. It'll make it easier for you. Easy doesn't mean right. Easy doesn't mean it's the best thing for you. It just means it's easy. So if you're being misled, it's easy to be misled. It is easy to make a mistake, but that doesn't mean that you should. So maybe you disagree with me. Maybe some people think that, it doesn't matter. I should vote early because, I'm a Democrat. I'm a progressive. I'm a conservative, a libertarian, a Republican. Maybe you think, well, I'm just going to vote party line no matter what, so it doesn't matter. And you know what? If you blindly vote straight down the party line without knowing anything other than someone's political affiliation, you're right. Go out, early vote, go straight down the line, vote that party line block, and walk away. You've done what you were going to do anyway, and trust me, politicians love that. They love you to just vote straight down the line and not pay attention to anything. But if you actually are concerned about getting the best people in office, if you're actually concerned about having the best person in a position to better help you as a constituent to improve your life, then you owe it to yourself that if you're going to vote early, you know what you're voting for. And on the day of election, November 5th, that you actually go out there and vote as an informed voter. And when people are under investigation, like Councilman Dan Livingston, and they have serious allegations that they have admitted to on video, his unedited video on October 21st. Please check out my other podcast on this. You can listen to it for yourself. When a politician has admitted their crime, then I would say you may want to wait on that early voting. You may want to make sure that you're making the best possible choice. But I am more than happy to hear what you think. I want to hear what the progressives think. I want to hear the Democrats. I want to hear them explain to me why not waiting to find out more information is a problem, and why you should go out and early vote, especially for Democrats, especially for Dan Livingston as an example, without having all the facts. How does that help constituents? Please tell me. I want to hear that. But with that said, John agreed with me, and I am paying attention to the comments. I always pay attention to the comments, and I do listen to everybody, and I do want to respond to everybody. So please make your comments here on YouTube or on Facebook or on Twitter. If you've seen this, spread this around. Let's hear what other people think. Does early voting hurt voters when we have people like Dan Livingston, when we have politicians who are out there who are doing less than the best thing, who have admitted crimes and violations, and that they have gone around misleading the public, and they are not transparent about that? Is that what early voting should be about? Is that actually in your advantage? Please, I want you to tell me. I look forward to hearing from everybody very soon. We'll have some more podcasts a little bit later in the day. Look forward to that. But until then, everybody, let me also mention, on Monday at Binghamton University, myself, George Phillips, and the Binghamton, my mind's just gone, and the Binghamton Republicans are going to be holding a forum on socialism. It's open to the public. Please drop on by, and I'll have another video about that in a little bit. Oh, Ed Carroll has commented, walking towards a cliff in total darkness with no flashlight is just like early voting. I agree with you, Ed. And if you missed it, the 3-card montage I played earlier is exactly what I'm talking about here. That is exactly what it's about. And I'm going to end this, unless there are more comments, I'm going to end this with the same thought that I started this with, so that people can really get an idea of what's going on here. This is what early voting is. It's 3-card Monty. It's following the queen, except there is no queen. There is no endgame that benefits the public. It's just a scam. It's a trick. It's a game. It's taking it away from you. Just like that. You're never going to know the truth. Because you're not supposed to. You're not supposed to be informed voters. You're just supposed to vote for the power. And I'm sorry, I don't agree with that. But please, folks, I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to think. And I thank you for taking the time here on Friday with me, Friday the 25th. And I hope to hear from everybody very soon. Thank you.